Yeah, yeah, 360. Yeah, I'm like round and round and round we go. And where we stop, I'm like nobody knows. 360 degrees, 360 degrees. We give you what you want, we give you what you need. 360 degrees, 360 degrees. We tell the real truth, you know what I mean? It's the breakdown, 360 degrees. We give you what you want, we give you what you need. We talking politics and news, and music reviews, as well as ratchet TV. You know how we do, and music from some artists you never heard of. But when you hear them, you gon' show them some love. 360 degrees, 360 degrees. We give you what you want, we give you what you need.
And welcome to another episode of Politics. Trumpageddon is on us like it never. Let's say Politics. Hold on. And welcome to another episode of 360 Degrees with Mercer Prescott, Mercedes Wright, Odofoley Oquaye. Damn it.
Hey, Greer.
And welcome to another episode of 360 Degrees. Hey, Odie, do your thing.
Hello, good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Hey, how you doing? Hey, girl. Hey, girl. Hey. What's up?
Did you guys have a great Thanksgiving?
No, I'm black.
Whatever.
No,
I did.
I had a really good Thanksgiving. Now, you said
you
didn't travel for Thanksgiving this year, did you?
No. I was definitely local. We had a Friendsgiving, so I went to a friend of a friend's house. And my contribution was Thanksgiving punch. So basically red wine, fireball, and whiskey. So,
damn. That was like
lots of good
fireball
time.
going down your throat. Damn, girl.
It was good. It tasted like sophisticated sangria. You know, that's what it tasted like. It was good. So yeah. Anywho, I was really excited about.
Sound like Thug Passion by Tupac. Watch out now.
Oh my gosh. I was really excited about She's Gotta Have It coming out. And so I did make sure I caught an episode and some change of that. They're only 30 minutes. I thought they were going to be like hour episodes and maybe less of them, but they're actually 30 minutes. So I kind of was a little disappointed there. But on the good side, well, first of all, for those out there who have not seen She's Gotta Have It, I remember when Spike Lee was in grad school, that was like his grad project or whatever to get his master's or whatever at the film school in New York, or NYU. So that was his graduation project. It was actually made into a movie. My mother, I think it definitely came out before I was born. So my mother and my father went to go see it, and she was like, I don't get it. I don't like it. And she was just like, why is this in black and white? She just didn't really appreciate the film. As a grown-up, I finally got to see the movie, and I really liked it. It's basically about this woman who juggles 3 different men in her life, and they all kind of fit some different need. So it's now been made into a Netflix series, no longer in black and white, it's in color. But Nola Darling is an artist. She lives in Brooklyn. So Brooklyn is definitely a focal point of the series because everybody knows Spike Lee's from Brooklyn. And then the 3 men she juggles are Mars, who's kind of like the clown. And then Greer, who is the pretty boy and very vain. And then there's her married lover, Jamie. And, she just has sex with all of them at different times that suit her needs, and that's what it is. So as far as the series goes, a couple of notes things that I noticed were the writing, the style that they film in is very classic Spike Lee, especially like when they have the interviews and people talk about their relationship with Nola. It's very like, I don't know how to explain it, but you know how Spike Lee has those like straight shots and people are just talking to the camera? It's like that.
Yeah, kind of like how reality TV shows does it now.
Kind of, but it's not like on the reality TV show. Like you definitely have like the whole or most of the body like from the hip up. It's like they're centered and the camera moves in a little bit. It's just very classic Spike Lee as far as the film style goes. And I like, one thing I also noticed too, like he'll play like different songs and then he'll show like the artist album like right after that. So you can't miss it. You can't say, well, what song was that? Or like you don't question what the soundtrack is. And he has like a little variety, but you know, they're all black artists. Old school, new school, stuff in between. So that I really liked. I just think overall they cast it very well. My only gripe about it is I feel like it's like they could have punched up the writing just a little bit. So as far as the dialogue goes, they talk like it's still the early 1990s, late 80s, as far as like even though they're like living in modern times, like you see them with their smartphones and Macs and stuff like that. It's just, I feel like they could have borrowed some of the Insecure writers to keep it that authentically black sounding, like to keep it like you know that they're black people talking. They could have borrowed some of the writers to do that. But I don't know, it's just like scenes, I'm like, nobody talks like that. I'm just like, nobody talks like that. Especially
we're talking about Brooklyn, they do still talk like that.
Do they? I don't think so.
They really do. They really do.
Oh my God. And, you know, it's just like, it was like a scene where she's with the married guy, Jamie, and they're in bed and he's reading a poem to her. And I was just like, don't judge me, but I've laid up with a married dude before. And I'm like, this nigga don't talk like that. Like, that's not what's happening. And he's from Brooklyn. But he don't talk like that. I mean, we talk about things, but he's not writing, like, it just doesn't sound like that. Like, I don't know. I just feel like the writing could have been...
It feels like it's modern, but has some trappism in the past. It does feel very related to that. To me, it felt like throwaway scripts or extension from the movie, actually, as he wrote it during that time. I didn't really care for the show. I saw 1 or 2 episodes, and I wasn't moved by it. I thought the way it was filmed was great. I thought the color was beautiful.
Yeah.
The scenery and the music was wonderful. Script writing, I did not click with at all.
I'm still invested.
I'm just coming off watching like a real drama. So it's kind of hard to go from a real drama and then go to this type of styling of writing. Does that make sense? I just watched Mindhunter, the whole thing of Mindhunter on Netflix, which is an amazing series. And you can't go from Mindhunter to She's Gotta Have It and have an objective opinion, in my opinion.
Well, the feedback that I've seen so far is really good. A lot of people, but mostly women, black women, really appreciate this show for whatever reason. I don't know if it's because, you know, if it's because they identify with...
Vicariously through Nola.
Well, I mean, I can identify with some of the things. Like, not necessarily. I mean, another thing, too, like, that was really important on the first episode was, like, she gets accosted. Like, this man touches her when he's trying to holler at her, but he's, you know, and that's how they kind of open the episode, where dudes be like on some, "Ayo, ma, what's up? Like, come here, shorty," whatever. And this dude actually grabs her, and so it kind of focuses a little bit on I only caught some of the second episode, but she's kind of seeing the different men in her life's reaction to it. and surprisingly, the comedian Mars is, he's kind of like the most sensitive about it. Not sensitive, but just like the most reactive to it. Whereas the other ones, I don't know, they just said some standard shit, but he was actually there for her, I felt like. But he also was physically there when she told him, so that matters too. Overall, I'm definitely going to keep watching. I want to see where it goes. I hope it gets picked up for more seasons. I like too how they're throwing in the gentrification part. Like that's also like a focal point, or it's like one of the things that's going on in her life where she's talking about not being able to afford rent in the area anymore, and how her neighbors are changing. So
they borrowed that from Insecure. So original.
Yeah.
I mean, Brooklyn is Fort Griffin. Like that's no, like
it's a real
Insecure.
Thing.
That's real life.
I'm like, what's going on over here?
But I mean, when can people ever afford rent in Brooklyn?
Right.
Brownstones never, they've always cost a lot of money.
Yeah, it's worse now, but I mean, it was always bad.
Yeah, and that's true.
All right, well.
So that's all I had as far as that show goes. I do want to touch on, and I'm going to preface this by saying there are spoiler alerts. So if you have not watched the season finale of Queen Sugar, then definitely want to cut out right now.
The first episode.
Okay, well then don't worry about it. You'll just have to worry about it later. So, I love Queen Sugar. I have been watching Queen Sugar for quite some time, but most recently, the storyline that has really caused a couple of tears to drop a couple of times is the storyline with Darla. So Darla is the baby mama of Kofi Siriboe. Kofi Siriboe is the fine one. He's on the show as Ralph Angel. That's his name on the show. But Kofi Siriboe, everybody, like, that's probably the reason that a majority of women regularly watch is to see Kofi Siriboe. He's fine as fuck. So anyway, he has a son named Blue with Darla. And Darla is like a very fragile person. She's gone through addiction, but she's in recovery now. She's been doing really, really well. Things are going great. They're about to get married. He finally proposed. And eventually her estranged parents come back into the picture and convince her father specifically convinces her to confess that Blue may not be Ralph Angel. Now, I'm going to pause right there just because when I first heard this, I was like, wait a minute. I just automatically assumed that they had done a DNA test knowing that Darla was, a drug addict, that she may have been in some sort of under the influence state of whatever drug she was doing, and she was also a prostitute. So I'm just assuming, like, they already got this shit out, like, this has already been taken care of. Like, how is this even a possibility? And also, too, side note, Ralph Angel's a really good father. Like, he had gone to jail for, like, petty theft and shit like that, but he basically was, like, really good recently about being a good father and being present, especially after his father died. So everybody's doing really well, and then all of a sudden it's, the baby might not be yours. And so I was talking with someone else who watches the show, and I was just like, after the fallout of what happened, I just was like, she should have kept that shit to herself. And that's what I wanted to ask you guys about. Is there ever an okay time for a woman, like, I mean, because obviously, as you can imagine, like, he was tore the fuck up about it. He did break up with her because he was just like, I can't trust you. But he was like, Blue is mine. Like no matter what, that's my kid. But why did you do this to me? Because all you had to do was just tell me in the beginning that he may not be yours. And I would have understood, and we could have gone from there. But you just never fucking told me. And just seeing, like, all the damage that it did, I mean, is there ever a time for a woman not to say it? Like, not to confess and just be like, I'm going to let that shit ride, take it to the grave?
That's a tough one. I'll let you take that one, Blue. I'm gonna phase out of this one.
I'm gonna pass the mic to Mercedes.
Okay, yeah, I'm here. Yes, I'm here. Yeah, I'm sorry, you guys. I'm also working as we talk for a minute. I really didn't have like a major topic today. A few.
No. We had a question. Go ahead and say the question again, Odie.
Yeah. So I was describing the situation on Queen Sugar, where and sorry if you haven't watched the season finale yet, but basically surrounding where Darla told Ralph Angel that their child might not be his. And I was just like, you should have kept that shit to yourself, sis. Like, just because 6 or 7 years had passed and he was a good father and his family, like, really had a presence in Blue's life. So it's not like what good, like, who is it benefiting at this point in time to actually confess and say, oh, he might not be yours? And you don't even know who the other father is, so it's not like you can say, well, I did the test and I know it's this guy and he's willing to step up. Like, you're literally taking the child out of the situation of what he knows and then putting him with strangers if he's someone else's.
Well, I'm all about honesty. I can't say I would completely disagree with her being honest about it, but with him being, what, you said 7 years old, yeah, at that point, that early in his life, I might be willing to tell the truth and suffer the consequences. Now, had he been 18, probably not. I just probably would have kept my mouth shut. Yeah, whether she knew who the other father was or not, let's say if, and this is a big thing, it happens all the time, kid gets sick, needs a kidney, needs blood, needs anything. That's your exposure right there if it turns out not to be his father. Different blood types can't even help save the son that you raised all this time, which in turn, biologically, you find out isn't even yours. Things come to light regardless. So her telling, I agree with the kid being so young. Had the child been older, probably would have kept my mouth shut and kind of took it to my grave. But
what the magic number is for that, though? Like, where you would say, he's old enough not to, or that's too young.
I don't know. I guess being that young, like, for example, my first and second child, when I met my husband, who's not their father, he raised them completely. So it's known that he's not their biological parent. And my he's 8 now, but my 8-year-old loves that man to death. Now this is a situation where it's known that that's not my son and my daughter's dad.
Yeah, this is all this kid knew.
Could that situation that you're referring to, could that man have bounced back from it and continued to raise that child as his own, as a man who knows the child isn't his from the gate? Probably not. The male ego is not going to take something like that very easily. However, being that young, I think it'll be easier for the child to bounce back from, rather than an 18-year-old who's already becoming an adult, already becoming his or her own person. And you tell that 18-year-old, well, your father may not be your father, but that's all he knows, and he's grown. Like, how does an adult at that age restructure their lives? I think you can mold a child and help the child cope much better than you can a grown man or a grown woman by exposing or letting.
I would say that's pretty fair to say. Like, yeah, he would probably. Kids are a little bit more resilient when it comes to changes like that. And yeah, I would say for the most part, it's just, yeah, everything is inconvenient for the adults. I think the people most negatively affected by this revelation were the adults. So that's fair to say. That's something I hadn't thought about, but yeah, oh man, I still say she should have kept that shit to herself, or at least or maybe sneakily done some sort of drug test or some sort of paternity test just to confirm, okay, when you have the facts, then that's what you confess. But might not be yours, not something you want to say. You should go with the facts in hand at least if you're gonna do this. Yeah. But
a lot of times when women confess this, it comes out to guilt at some point somewhere or anger. They never have the facts of the DNA test in their hand when they say these things. So, of course, they don't have the facts of the DNA test in their hands when they say these things because they need the man's DNA to prove themselves right or wrong. or you gotta let the man know initially in any way that he may not be the father to get his DNA to get the test done. So there's really no other way to do it. But at the same time, it normally comes from guilt or anger when it's first exposed as such.
Interesting perspective. Yeah. I'm totally honest.
My homie Little Nico just texted me he will whoop that bitch ass. Now, I don't promote violence, but it is a very troubling information to receive. If you've been raising somebody for any length of time, invested your love, your family's invested, and all of a sudden, oh, Little Blue, and of all names, Blue, where the fuck they get that from? Anyways, isn't yours,
they actually told the story of why they didn't, and they actually did at the end, but yeah. Okay. I can't wait to see what happens next season. I'll be watching for sure. But yeah, those are my only topics today. So thanks for listening, guys. Merce, you up next?
Yep. I'll go ahead and take a stab at it. So, I recently got a blog account on Anchor. And I'm still getting it set up, but
give us the details.
Oh, okay. Well, basically, and you know me and my goofy analogies and stories. There's a band I listen to called Living Color, and I love them because they're my
the cult of personality.
Exactly. They were my musical coming out of the closet band. Where
coming out of the closet? Whoa, what?
Put it like this: when back in my day, you know, if you were African American, you only had, you know, if you just listened to the 3 R's, which is rap, reggae, R&B. If you listen to anything outside of that, you were seen as a weirdo. So I loved a lot of, not hair metal, like I hated hair metal, but I loved, you know, stuff like Metallica and Megadeth and stuff like that. So I had to kind of keep it to myself. But when Living Color came out, you know, you got black guys in a metal band and Corey Glover and his multicolored dreadlocks and everything, and it was just like, well, I don't gotta hide that shit no more, you know. So they were my musical coming out of the closet band. They had an EP called Biscuits, you know, and I liked the concept of it. It was basically just the leftover biscuits. Like it was basically songs that didn't make it to the album, but were still good songs. So they just slapped them on an EP and just sold it to people. I actually own it. So this site is gonna kind of be like my biscuits, if you will, the stuff that doesn't make it to the main show, but it's still important enough to be heard, I feel. Okay. But something did kind of catch my eye while I was doing a little bit of research this morning. There is a white supremacist. His name is, he calls himself Baked Alaska. Okay, whatever. But he got banned from Twitter, and then he tried to make another Twitter account called Not Baked Alaska. And Twitter was like, oh, I see what you did there. Banned. They banned that account. So now it seems that all the white supremacists are gathering on a platform called Gab. And then Google responded by removing Gab from the Play Store. You know? So it's basically, Gab is going to be the new white supremacist site where all the white supremacists can go. Like even Discord, which I use for gaming. They were big on white supremacists, you know, because they were using it to trade bomb-making secrets and outing Antifa members, and then Discord was like, okay, we can't have this, you guys got to go. So they're getting kicked off of a lot of these sites. But my thing is this with the white supremacists, right? I look at some of their stuff, right, just to see what they talk about. They don't talk about shit. They talk about stuff that, aside from stoking hate and nationalistic feelings, don't have any substance, okay? Here's something that I was going to do, and I'm probably still going to do it for my first podcast on Anchor. You know, I'm still getting the details down. But put it like this, okay? When we talked about Monday, we talked about the tax plan, right? That they're pushing. It passed the House. Senate's trying to pass their version of it. It already passed the Senate Budget Committee, and it's going to be going up for a vote, right? Here's the thing, right? One of the things that they want to eliminate is something called the alternative minimum tax, And I know what you're thinking. What the hell is that? Let me explain. When you do your taxes, right, there's we'll just call it a side A and side B. So I was going to say fixed and variable, but I don't want you to think about APRs for credit cards. So you have your side A, which is your regular tax. Side B is your alternative minimum tax, right? So what happens is this, and I'm using numbers to make this simplistic. Let's just say they run your numbers, and then side B comes out to $3,000, right? That side stays as $3,000. It doesn't move, right? Side A starts at $12,000, right? So what they do is you go to side A, and like this is your tax, and then they start taking out all of your deductibles, your loopholes, whatever stuff that you can apply to it, right? So let's just say on side A, they whittle that down to about $4,000, right? That means your taxes are going to be $4,000. You're going to pay that $4,000 in tax. But let's just say that you're a fancy paid-for accountant, work overtime, and they get it down from $12,000 to $1,500. That's where your alternative minimum tax comes in, because now they say, well, now it's too low. You got to pay the $3,000 instead of $1,500. You basically pay the bigger of the two, right? So now I did a very stripped down version of this. I mean, it's a lot more nuanced. There's a formula for how to get the alternative minimum tax. Now the thing is, if you're an ordinary Joe, you don't have an alternative minimum tax. You just have your taxes. You probably won't have an alternative minimum tax unless you make at least $200,000 a year. So there are about 4 million people who are affected by an alternative minimum tax. That 4 million people bring in about, on average, about $26 billion a year in taxes, right? If they take that away over the next 10 years or less, it's going to cost the U.S. Treasury $1.3 trillion in revenue. And that's just from taking away the alternative minimum tax. That's just the one thing they're taking away. We're not even talking about the inheritance tax, the death tax, as they call it. We're not even talking about all the other stuff they want to take away to make it easier for rich people. So just the alternative minimum tax is $1.3 trillion that they're taking away from the Treasury over the next 10 years. You don't find that on white supremacist sites at all. You don't find information like that people would need to know in order to make informed decisions. All you find is just this gobbledygook about, they're coming to get us, and you got to buy guns, and then we're making bombs, and that guy's Antifa, get him. That's all you hear on those dumbass sites. So it's not like when they ban these sites, it's not like they're taking away anything helpful. This stuff hurts, and they keep screaming First Amendment all day, but the fact of the matter is there are limits to free speech. As we all know, you can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. Anything that inspires people to hurt others, it's hate speech, and hate speech can be regulated. The woman in Texas who had the bumper sticker on the back of her truck that said "fuck Trump" and "fuck you for voting for him," right? Mm-hmm. That's protected under the First Amendment. Yes, the F-bomb is kind of vulgar, but I mean, if somebody's kids want to look at the F-bomb, they can just go on to Netflix. So it's not like it's still vulgar, but it's not hurting anybody. As opposed to somebody posting on Gab that Mercer Prescott is part of Antifa and here's his address. Go get him. Stuff like that. So and I find that a lot of that stuff is just so. I poke on their sites every now and then just to see what they're talking about. They all talk horse shit. Like you get on to. I've never watched Tim Black. I may have to. I've heard of him. I heard his name pop up in some of the liberal circles, but I may have to give him a peek. But I watch stuff like I watch Young Turks. I watch David Pakman. I watch Secular Talk. I watch Humanist Report. Among other things. And they try and give you information, and that's why I try to model it after. Give you something that would actually help you in your life. Yeah, hold on, don't get me wrong. when I hear a dumbass story about Trump fans being mad at LeVar Ball, but then getting on LeVar Burton's Twitter account and giving him hate, I'll talk about that too, because that's kind of, it just shows the ridiculousness of Trump fans. Did y'all hear about that?
Yes, all of ours are made equally. Duh.
Yeah. I mean, all black people are named LeVar, so if you get LeVar Ball, LeVar Burton, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's not like LeVar Burton doesn't know LeVar Ball personally, and he'll just give him the message. I joked about it on Twitter. I'm like, let me help you dumbass Trump fans out. Ball is 1 syllable. Burton is 2 syllables. They're different people.
Burton is Usher's daddy.
Is he? Oh, I don't. You keep getting me, man. But it's funny how it's basically like you're taking all these white supremacist sites. It's all just couch stuffing. It's just basically just filler. It's just stuff that, you know, none of it is going to help these people ever in their lives. If you just fill people up, you know, stuff with just white supremacist stuff and push them out into the world, they wouldn't last 10 days if that's all they knew was just white supremacist stuff and white nationalist stuff. If that was all they knew. And I'm not saying that we liberals are the smartest people on the planet, but we're definitely smarter than these white nationalists. But I don't know if it's on, but then again, it's kind of on purpose. Because if you keep these people dumb, then you could do whatever you want unchecked. So if I told a white supremacist about alternative minimum tax, they don't care. All they care about is, oh, the Republicans are pushing it, well, it must be good for me, even though it's not. But those are our guys. Like, they have them wired in that whole tribalist thing. You know, if I said it to a liberal, they may not take my word on it. They may Google it. They may look it up. They may pull out their textbooks and look it up. You know, but they're not going to dismiss it on its face because it sounds like it's something that might just be important. But I marvel at that, you know, about what these guys are all about. And I just kind of was just curious about this Baked Alaska guy, and I'm just like, oh, this guy's a piece of shit. You know, and yet he has 200,000 followers on Twitter alone. That's the scary part. But I like to have a little bit of fun with this, but I also want to try to at least throw something out there where if you hear somebody say something stupid, you have it in your mind that, hey, you know, you can at least counter it. You know, you're never going to change the Trump fans' minds, but at least you can't let them get away with their horseshit. That's just my thing. And one of the reasons is that even when they're not listening to the mainstream stuff, like the Fox News stuff, there's plenty of Baked Alaskas out there, or Richard Spencers or Milo Yiannopoulos is out there to just keep filling their mind with horseshit. No. Let me ask you guys a question before Blue has to reclaim his time. Other than, like, who do you listen to that's not on the mainstream? Like, if you're not watching CNN or MSNBC or anything like that, who do you guys watch for your news?
I watch Young Turks, of course. I watch Huffington Post. No, I guess they are mainstream shit. Never mind.
Well, they're kind of in the middle.
That's about it, to be honest. I don't like anything on the television for the most part. Oh, okay, and TWC, whatever our Time Warner one is called, they don't seem to be too biased, to be honest with you.
No.
And that's it. To be honest, if it's not a news feed, if it's not a blog, if it's not an email I get, I really don't know, and I choose not to know because it's bullshit. It's slanted. It's disgusting. It's like, let's mix our agenda with some of the truth, but mostly lies.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And even something like Young Turks, you know, they have their own opinions, which I don't always agree with, but at least they'll say, well, this is the news story, and then this is how we feel. They don't swirl it all together into one thing. If you read articles and then the articles are basically like calling people names in the article, I won't even finish reading that article, because to me it's just designed to make you think one way and not just look at the facts and say, okay, these are the facts and this is how the facts make me feel. They're just trying to direct how you should feel. I see that a lot on left-wing sites as well, which is why I don't. Anything that has like liberal in the name, I'm skeptical of it, because it's basically just like the right-wing sites. But anything that has freedom or patriot in it, I'm just automatically like skeptical. Like, okay, this is going to be some right-wing bullshit. So left-wing is the same thing. You know, if it's too left-wing, I can't read it, because it's just, there's no facts. It's just all fillers. It's all couch stuffings. What about you, Odie? Who do you watch when you're not watching MSNBC?
Like probably like Young Turks, and honestly, like anything. And I don't consistently watch, but I'll take the clips like with comedians and stuff.
Right.
So, what like Colbert and those guys, like anybody, like even though they're making fun, it always, like when I have like a little backstory that they provide before they, you know, drop joke or whatever, I like the backstory, and then I'll go and verify those things, or like say, what the hell are they talking about? I didn't hear about that this week, and then it'll like cause me to look into it. So with a verified or reliable source. So yeah, I would probably say surprisingly those guys. I feel like they're more reliable than the news sometimes.
What about you, Mercedes?
Me, Young Turk. I have there's this other guy, I cannot remember his name. I actually stopped following him on YouTube. His name was Tommy something, some weird last name. Now he is a black guy, and he's still on YouTube. And I think YouTube stopped backing his channel, stopped monetizing his videos, but he honestly only posted black news bashing black people. And I know it may sound crazy that I'm even telling you that I watched it. But the reason I used to watch it is because there were a lot of things in a lot of cities and states that otherwise I wouldn't gain access to. Now, his commentary on these stories, I did not like. Every female was a black bee. Every black male was so many negative things. So there were certain things that happened in this world that we wouldn't otherwise know, and his ass knew about all the stories. So I followed him. It was a weird name. I have to give it to you guys later. But and I've actually followed him and Young Turks. Those are my two news platforms that I do other than mainstream. And I really don't even do mainstream news that much. You know, on the iPhone, swipe all the way to the left, they have like the news, Apple News there. So I'll go through some of that sometimes, but I really don't have like a news platform that I stay on. I kind of try to stay, you know, up on the local news or whatever, but that's about it.
Right.
Those are my thoughts.
So the person she was talking about on YouTube is Tommy Sotomayor, and he's
yeah, it's crazy, but
asshole.
He is a complete asshole, and he's racist against his own people. And then the crazy part, he's like the blackest black man you'll ever meet in your life. He can't stand black people.
It's always them charcoal motherfuckers that be hating, boy. Oh, fuck it, the fucking light-skinned niggas. They still in style.
Like you beige motherfuckers.
And when I tell you, he literally hates black women. And I remember one time he posted a video about going to some baseball game, and he was sitting there having like a political conversation with this white guy. And it was during the Trump campaign before the election. And when I say coon, Uncle Tom, like the most, I can't even describe it. He makes you cringe. But again, I watched him for his news platform of all the stories that I wouldn't otherwise catch, because he literally uploads like 2 or 3 stories a day. I don't know why he's so active on YouTube, but he really does. And it's like and every now and then, it has to be a blue, purple, orange, rainbow-colored moon. He'll post something good that happened in the black community. Every now and then. Like, seriously. But I just like his show because of how much he posted and what he posted, not his commentary on his own shit. Because he is a piece of trash. He really is. But if you want some news that you wouldn't otherwise find anywhere else, he is definitely the person to follow on YouTube. But he's complete black trash. I really don't like him.
And he's got like 330,000 subscribers, too.
He does. In fact, he had more. He had another YouTube platform or page or whatever that I used to follow before, another YouTube channel. And I don't know what happened.
His one channel was deleted, so he had to start from scratch.
Yeah, that's what it was. Because that's how long I've been following him. He's been on YouTube for years. And that other one had more followers than this new one. So, yeah, it's crazy, but he really, again, every now and then, you just wait for him to say something positive. He will bash black men, don't get me wrong, he will. But the way he bashes black women, y'all just got to go find his channel, because he's crazy. But his news itself, like, I'll take the stories that he posts, and I'll go find the truth. I'll, Google it, and try to find something out more positive about it, because every man is just a black nigga to him, and every female is just a black bitch to him, and I hate that about him. But the stories are very intriguing, and you can find it on a better platform, the stories somewhere else. So, yeah.
Gotcha.
But he's such an asshole. But anyways. But like Mercedes says, he do have some links or some video footage of stuff that you never hear about. That's like, what? That really happened? And it's valid. It's like you have to go to the gutter to get what you need to get in order to find out what's going on, because Fox ain't giving it to you, NBC, ABC, CBS ain't giving it to you, Young Turks ain't giving it to you, Blavity ain't giving it to you, Huffington Post ain't giving it to you. You got to go to this dickhead to get the information in order to find out what's really going on about, police brutality, about people, domestic violence and murders, and about showing outs in courts, about different laws that's being changed and the impact on you, about racial racism, and about astute supposedly citizens and stuff. Just all kind of shit he puts on the table. Now he has this asshole opinion he puts with it, but to be honest, we do the same thing. But it's information.
Yeah, sometimes there are some times where I have agreed with some of the things that he said about the way black people carry themselves out here. I totally agree. But it's his presentation of his words. Like, I'm just not going to continue to bash black people and call them, like, stupid, dumb. Again, we've all thought it. We're like, oh, my God, this idiot did what? But his verbiage is so, oh, my God. He's so negative. It's like you cringe most of his videos, but then you might agree, like, 2% to what he says. Like, yeah, that dummy ain't have to do that shit. But, yeah, it's... He's so odd and weird. Like, when you watch his channel, you almost feel guilty to follow him to begin with. But he literally has all the news. I'm like, Tommy, where did you even find out that happened in Indiana and you live somewhere else? I mean, I don't know where he finds all this black news, but it's just like so much. People like, where did this come from? Illinois, and you would never know otherwise if it wasn't for his black ass putting it out there. But like Lou said, you hate to agree with him sometimes, if it's just a small amount, but his wording will actually kind of push you off. His verbiage is trash. He really is terrible. He's such a negative person.
He's trash. Yeah, real talk. Fuck him. But anyways, yeah, good resource. I would advise you to subscribe to him, but don't subscribe to him out of love, just out of curiosity.
Yeah. Straight curiosity, because I'm going to tell you right now, at first, when I first found out about him, I was like, I hate this man, and I would not subscribe to him at first. I was like, I will not be one of his 300,000 subscribers. But his videos would pop up on, ones that you might like, videos you might like on YouTube. You can't help but click on it, and then his ass go. And his titles are so, oh my God, they're not even clickbait. Like, the way he titles them, you can't help but click on them. I'm like, oh my God, I feel so guilty. So, yeah, but he's an asshole.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure there's some people who don't like me out there, but you know what? What are you gonna do? At least they learned a little something. At least it's not just all couch stuffings. But that's all I had, Mr. Blue.
All right. I was just reading a meme about Jennifer McClain, she was a deputy at one of the prisons, and she had sex with a white supremacist while in jail and lost her career, her job, and her livelihood. I was just put back about some of the stupidity that we find ourselves doing and participating in at times. If it's not going to move you forward, why do it? Why would you participate in an act that might have lasted 10 minutes to throw away 12, 14 years of a promising career and lose your kids, lose your house, lose everything because you can't get back employed and now you got a criminal record because it's a felony to have sex with a prisoner when you're a deputy.
And if you're a deputy, you don't start off as a deputy. You work your way up to deputy. So she had to put some work in to become a deputy, and then she just threw it all away. And, you know, having sex with a prisoner is one thing. That's still wrong. But with the dude has tattoos on his face. Like, what the hell?
To add insult to injury, he looks the way he does. Like, it's like, okay, sis, like, I would look at this and say, and, like, not saying that I would entertain it, but I would at least understand if he looked different. Like, what the fuck is this?
I mean, if I don't know. I mean, if he looked like Brad Pitt, I could understand why she might want to, but this dude just looks like the guy who I avoided the bus stop because he has tattoos on his face. So it's just like, why would you? I don't know, man. Looks aside, like you said, Blue, why would you throw your career away for something like that? You know, I mean, you're not Harvey Weinstein. You don't have millions of dollars to back you up after you lose your career.
Okay, we can zoom out. These people work 12-hour shifts. You know, the flip side, people work 12-hour shifts. They spend a significant amount of time in this environment. They go home, they drop dead tired, they sleep. They don't spend much time with any significant others. And so they start in their mind developing feelings and relationships with people who they interact with on a daily basis because they don't really have any significant downtime to go out and parlay and develop relationships with what we call normal people who don't have these crazy, nasty shifts. And things like this happen, unfortunately. I've seen it in my practice numerous times that people messed up in such a way because of situations such as this. Extended hours on the job, a highly stressful job that you can't speak to, let's say, your mate about because they just don't get it or they just don't care. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, somebody's paying you a little bit of attention and your little cuda get wet. And boom.
But married coworkers is like, no, I'm not willing to accept that. I could understand if like she met him outside of the jail, because then I'll be like, okay, it's 2017. There's an app for everything, including one if you want to get laid, and that's all you want. But it's like, nah, girl, like, nah, I'm not willing to accept that. Like, no, because like you're basically telling me that she's not smart enough or aware enough to be aware of her own feelings. No, I'm not accepting that. She could have gone on some app if that's all she wanted to do.
Let's look at the intelligence of the average deputy in a prison system. Trust me, dog, it ain't that high. Trust me, I was in jail before. I know this to be true.
Just like Mel Gibson said in Payback, he's like, if I was a little bit dumber, I could have been a cop. Not bragging on cop. I mean. And it's only because, I mean, you figure like they talked about that thing about the police officers in Japan, you know, how they just train differently, you know. I would think that a cop would be intelligent because they have to make hard decisions. They have to, you know, research and stuff, I guess. I don't know. I'm just thinking about cops on TV. But, I mean, everybody makes bad decisions sometimes, but I mean, I understand about the whole work thing. Like, someone asked me one time, would I date a coworker? And I was like, only if I was serious about that coworker. Like, if I was just starting a relationship with a coworker, like a serious relationship, even if we break up, that's one thing. But I wouldn't treat my job like a disco, you know, because I got to work with these people, you know. Like, this is what I want to be doing for a very long time. So I wouldn't do anything that would jeopardize that. So, I mean, office romance is one thing. I mean, I know with Jennifer, I mean, it's a different matter because you're basically, and here's something I'm going to say that's very sexist. In a case where you have a female deputy and a male prisoner, would you think that she was taking advantage of him or he was taking advantage of her?
That's a good question.
I'm going to
see
like the school situation.
Go ahead, Odie. I'm sorry.
I was going to say I don't think it's any different. The structure is the same. So I'm if it was a female teacher and a male student, the position of power is with the female teacher. The position of power is with the female deputy. She's taking advantage of him, straight up. Like, I'm not going to sit up here and be like, oh, it's changed, it's different now. No, it's the same structure.
And this is the part where I'm a bit sexist, because if it was a male guard and female prisoners, I'd be like, yeah, that dude took advantage of those women. But for me, for some reason, when they say, like, the rest of her sleeping with a white supremacist, you know, it just felt like it was almost like mutual, as opposed to the woman just telling the guy, like, you have to sleep with me. You know, that it was more like they were in some sort of, like, weird relationship. And I know that seems kind of horrible, but I guess it's just, you know, from what I see on the news all the time. But I mean, if it was the tables would turn, if it was a guy, and then you have female prisoners, I'd be like, look, he took advantage. That's wrong.
Just told him, fuck me, and I'll let you, you know, I'll talk to the warden or some dumb shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't know. That's why I'm like, yeah, it probably is a power thing. Like, no, she could have taken advantage of him, and she might have done it. Maybe she did do it on some, like, I'm going to make that white supremacist fuck me. He going to like some black pussy when I'm done with him. We don't, you know what I'm saying?
Because when you think about it, why would a white supremacist have sex with a black woman unless, you know, just kind of popped in my head like, yeah, why would he want to date her? Because that's who he hates, you know. So maybe you're right. Maybe he was from a position of power, like, you know, maybe you can get a conjugal visit with your actual girlfriend or something like that if you, you know. But
that's probably worse to him than being raped.
I mean, let's go back historically. I mean, it's not like, you know, they loved us while we were enslaved, and they had sex with our black women anyway. So I'm not saying, to be honest with you, let's take the racism out of it. They're both consensual adults. I'm not going to say either took advantage of either. It was two people fucking. I'm just saying.
And my thing is, that's what I thought when I read this. Like, they were just having a consensual relationship, even though it's wrong because she's not supposed to. Because she's...
Yeah, which is true. He could have been Asian. He could have been black. She was wrong for that shit. But right. My point is, he has a play in that too. He went along with it, and, you know, it was consensual. And I guess he realized that the brown he hates so much may not be that bad if he was willing to have sex and become attracted to it.
Right.
That, you know, black person.
But we would need more details, though.
There's more details?
I mean, I'll say, but we would need more details for that, though.
Before I make a definitive call on whether or not this is consensual, I'm looking at it as she was in charge. I'm looking at it as though this was like Harvey Weinstein or whatever. That's how I'm looking at it. Like, all right, position of power, and I'm going, like, until you prove otherwise, that's how I'm looking at it.
Well, how long had he been in prison first? Because after a man's been locked up so long, he's going to need a relief. So
after 1 minute, hello.
like 35 seconds into booking, he needed it. So yeah, I'm sorry. I can't say that she took advantage of him because he's just as grown as she is, and a man, alpha male. You guys have needs just like anyone else, and I'm sorry, but if she was willing and he obliged and they both did what adults do, I don't think either took advantage of either. He's a racist idiot, and she's I guess, like, you know, whatever over them or whatever inside the prison. But together, just two human beings, they both need to get their rocks off, and that's the end of the story for me. I can't say either took advantage of either, because as much as he hates black people, I'm sorry, if I hated white people so much, there is nothing attractive about a white man that would make me sleep with one. If I felt like that about white people, which I don't, but I'm just saying, no, and on top of that, the hatred will probably be more because you tried to cross my line when you know I don't like you. So I'm sorry, I can't say she was to blame because he knew what was going on, and he could clearly see her skin color. This man is not colorblind. And if he was colorblind, he probably wouldn't be so racist. He knew what he was looking at.
Yeah. It's weird, though, you know. Like, when you see, like I said, if it was the other way around, people would have just been like, well, that's that. They probably wouldn't. It would have been a non-story almost. Because they'd have been like, well, I guess because it's a woman, no matter the color of the skin, just the fact that it's a woman and a man, you don't really think of it as a power thing. You just think of it more as, oh, they were having a consensual relationship, as opposed to the woman forcing the man to be in that relationship. And that's wrong on my part, because it makes me feel like, okay, well, women don't, even when they're in power, that they don't have power, you know, and that's not,
that we don't,
and that is not entirely true. I mean, women make less money than men. Let's just, be real about that for doing the same exact work. So it's, I mean, you figure women didn't get to vote until, 50 years after slaves were able to vote? So women they don't really have it all that great. I mean, we look at places like Saudi Arabia where they just earned the right to drive, after all these years. But it's just, I don't know what to say, but it's just not a good situation either which way, And then sometimes, like, I always say this: if you talk long enough, you're going to contradict yourself, right? The fact of the matter is, what do you do when that happens? Do you just alter reality to make what you said true, or do you just accept it and zoom back and then just try to alter your thinking from then on out? That's my thing about it. But either which way, she lost her job, and it's going to look bad on her resume wherever she decides to work next. Maybe the KKK will take her in. I don't know.
And with a felony, won't be many places.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. That is a felony, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I hope she saved her money. Because she is going to need it.
People live from check to check. Come on, man. Yep. What the heck do you live in, dude?
Shoot, I'm sitting there trying to get my student loans refinanced because I don't want to be. I only got like 20 more years of work, man, and I ain't trying to eat cat food because they're garnishing my wages to pay these student loans off. So I gotta do something. But
I wrote a song about it.
But I will throw one more thing out there, unless somebody else had something. Like I didn't put on the timer. How much time do we have left?
Go ahead, do what you do.
All right. I mentioned, talking about stuff that doesn't matter, the whole LeVar Ball, Donald Trump thing, right? And I was looking at it this morning because I was trying to get an early jump on writing for Monday's show. And I had figured I was just going to mention it as a byline in this show, and it was just going to not matter. Like I wasn't even going to talk about it on Monday. But I saw something on one of those left-wing sites that said that Trump didn't actually do anything to have LiAngelo Ball and his friends released, right? And I'm like,
I already knew that was coming out. I called that shit a mile away. I was like,
right.
They ain't had nothing to do with it. The fact that he's trying to take credit for it tells me he had nothing to do with it.
Right. And being as it was on one of the left-wing sites that somebody posted on the feed, I was just like, let me look into this more. And Washington Post was talking about it. They were like, look, for something like what they did, right, you figure, yes, China does have very strict policies on stealing. And you can get up to 10 years for stealing in China, right? In America, it's basically just depends on where you are. Like California, you can get up to 3 years for stealing a firearm. In New York, it all depends on what you steal, and then they put in mitigating and aggravating circumstances. So if you steal something, even if it's not worth a lot, but someone gets hurt, that's an aggravating circumstance. If you stole something, but then they found out, it's just gold-plated and not real gold, then that may be a mitigating circumstance. But even then, you're probably still not getting more than a year or two in prison and $1,000 fine. But China, it can be up to 10,000, up to 10 years. But the Post spoke to several law experts in China, and they were saying that for something like what they did, they would have gotten exactly what they got. They would have gotten up to, even though they only spent 3 days, up to 20 days house arrest, and then they would have been deported. So they never went to an actual jail. They were under house arrest in their hotel room, and after 3 days,
I was saying, in a nice ass hotel.
Yeah,
that ain't nothing. That's just gonna cost the university money, though.
Yeah,
that's it.
And then they got sent home, and that was that, and that's all that would have happened. There was no way that they would have been in jail for 10 years. So I've never thought I would ever say this in my life, but LeVar Ball was right. But the thing that caught my eye on this story, it still would have been a non-story except for one thing. The person who came out and said this to the press was John Kelly. John Kelly is supposed to be the guy who's supposed to bring chaos and truth to the White House. And he's a lying sack of shit just like the rest of them. And you saw him start to unravel and give his true self, you know. But that sort of thing is dangerous because now all the Trumpists are thinking that, you know, Donald Trump went out of his way to... No, that's what they would have done anyway. That's what the State Department would have done regardless of Trump's involvement. The only reason why Trump knew about it is because somebody told him, because one of his aides saw it on CNN and mentioned it. But other than that, he would never have known what happened. None of us would have, really. Well, granted, it's the sports world would have, because they would have mentioned it, because they were there for an exhibition game. So, I mean, if you watch ESPN, then they probably would have known about it.
Well, we were the same fool that tried to say that Time Magazine said he was probably going to be named Man of the Year.
I was just going to say that shit. His lying sack of shit ass. How come Time Magazine and the News Network posted that they never approached him regarding being on the damn cover? This motherfucker.
Because like a rug, like the rug that's on the side.
He has a Photoshop picture of him as Man of the Year and several of his golf clubs. This motherfucking lying sack of shit. Now, I think he has a mental health disorder because nobody should lie that much knowing they're going to get caught.
Oh, he's already been diagnosed as having a mental disorder, you know.
Out of all people, to like put it a little bit in perspective, where I almost felt a tinge of compassion and empathy for this dude.
What? Girl, you need to take your medicine.
Jennifer Lewis had an interview, and she was talking about her struggles with bipolar disorder. Mm-hmm. And she was just like, I know mental health. And she was dead ass, like, I don't mean to say it and laugh, but she was dead ass serious when she was saying it. And I was like, all right, thank you for putting this a little bit more in perspective. But she was just like, yeah, you know, this dude is undiagnosed, and combined, I forgot what like term she used for his mental illness, but she was like, he won't get help, and he's a sociopath. So, you know, she was like, with his kind of personality, it's just like, get the fuck out of the way. Like,
there is no medicine for sociopaths.
Like, there's no regard for anybody. There's no. Say that again?
I said there's no medicine for anything on the personality disorder spectrum. So it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? You can't give him this or that in order for him to subside that. That is a piece of him. That is who he is.
Yeah. Only to make it
you is like bipolar. You can treat depression, anxiety. You can even treat schizophrenia, but you cannot treat narcissism. You cannot treat sociopathism.
Right,
you know
right. And that was the point.
They have to want to change, and they're not likely going to change. I was told, I think it was by a gentleman named Mercer Prescott on his hit show Politics, that you have to, in order to be the president, you have to have a sense of narcissism. But I'm not sure if he told me that, but somebody did.
Yeah. No, it wasn't me. I would have remembered that. But I mean,
that don't sound like me.
You know, that was part of Obama's problem, is that he wasn't narcissistic enough. So he didn't really take credit for the things that he did. And somebody had a meme I posted the other day. They were like,
black men aren't allowed to be narcissists. Black men aren't, and he was aware of that. Black men are not allowed. Like, who the fuck do you think you are? You think you're better than me? Like, no.
Sit your ass down, nigga.
Put it like this. Bill Burr had a joke on his latest special on Netflix. And he heard Kanye West, you know, doing his Kanye West thing, like, I am a god and all this other stuff. And then he looks at the TV and okay. It's just a black guy. And his point was, that type of narcissism in a white guy, then all of a sudden, then you have the concentration camps, and then you have all this other stuff. But because it's in a black guy, you know, it's not going to go any further than winning Grammys, you know. And Bill Burr is not a racist like that, but he's just telling it like it is, really. Like you mentioned, like, all right, like a black guy can't really be, like Obama can't be a narcissist because people will automatically be turned off by it, you know. So he can't make a rally like Trump and then just go to a town where something happened whether he has something to do with it or not, and say, well, I did this for you guys. No, people just be like, the fuck is you doing? But Trump could do that every time Trump's feeling down. He can have a rally in, like, bumfuck Texas and have people hold up signs of, like, yay. Put it like this. There are people who are paid to lie to Trump every day. So there are people who give him, they show him websites from, like, right-wing websites who just praise Trump and just make up shit that he does. Like Lou Dobbs, I've mentioned before, like, I'm almost surprised that they didn't have to cut from that interview because Lou Dobbs would just pull down Trump's pants and just blow him on national television. Like, that's how much of a kiss-ass Lou Dobbs was. But they know that if they cater to Trump's ego, they'll get whatever they want. That's all they did when he was in Asia was kiss Trump's ass. And then Trump gave him whatever they wanted, you know. So it's just, he is mentally ill, but the problem is that you have people like John Kelly who, well, I don't know how much respect he has now, but they're lying for him. You know Kellyanne Conway and Sarah Huckabee Sanders are going to lie for Trump. They're paid to do that. But John Kelly was supposed to be the voice of reason, and he's a lying sack of crap just like the rest of them. Because he said that it was the State. Well, yeah, the State Department does negotiate that sort of thing. But even if the State Department didn't get involved, those kids would have gone free anyway after a few days. So they didn't say so. I didn't see it there, but they said usually what would happen is they would get up to 20 days of house arrest, and then they'd be deported, and then they'd be banned. Like, they wouldn't be able to go back to China. But that would have been that. There'd be no actual jail time. So Trump didn't do anything at all, and it turned out to be true. But that's why Trump hates publications like the Washington Post, because they call him on his horse shit. Because they investigated it, and they were just like, huh. And they found actual law experts from China who said, yeah, they would have been perfectly fine. You know, they would have gotten their runs from eating too much hotel food. That would have been the worst that would have happened to them.
Well, one person I think that will escape his radar is this young woman. I don't know if you guys have been following the story, Cyntoia Brown, where her case kind of resurfaced. She's already been in jail. I think she's already been in jail for like 10 years already. But her name is Cyntoia Brown. She was basically arrested for prostitution. She killed a man that had sex with her. And the reason it's important for her to get out is because the law has since changed. She got tried as an adult for killing a man who had sex with her. But now the law is made so that anyone over the age of 18 is considered a prostitute. Anyone under that age is a victim of sex trafficking. So hopefully 45 won't be taking credit. Should her release go through anytime soon, or should she get a new trial? Right now, the only person that may get credit for that is Kim Kardashian. She actually is getting a legal team together for that girl.
Okay, so that was what I was thinking of. Okay. Yeah. I just read the Kim Kardashian thing today about her getting involved and having her lawyers help her out.
It's true. Her lawyers confirmed it anyway.
My bad, yeah. The one thing with that case, though, the reason they put her in prison to begin with is because, aside from being tried as an adult and all that, because she was only, 14, 15, 16, something like that.
16.
But, so she was very young, but they said because she willingly got in the car, willingly went out to eat with him, and did all these other things, that's why she got the time she got. But look at how she got to that point.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, is she
she was a sex worker. She said that she stole the guns. She stole the guns and brought her pimp back the guns because she didn't want to go back empty-handed. I mean, if that doesn't say she's a sex worker, then what else does? Of course she did, because she was.
Is that the one I'm thinking of? Was she a victim of sex trafficking? Did they kidnap her and make her into or am I thinking of a different case?
Same case.
No, she was kidnapped. She went into his car, but the man had a lot of guns and shit.
I'm talking about.
That's where it started. The mom was on drugs, and it started when she was young, selling her daughter. That's where it started.
Yep.
Okay.
And then she bounced in between foster homes because of the way her mother did her, and she ended up with this elderly black woman who raised her most of the time, but she kept running away from home and just kind of stayed in the streets after that, after whatever age she was when she finally left. But no, when she was with her mom,
she was sold into, or her mom would sell her for drugs. But when she was with the other lady, the lady who actually ended up adopting her, she just kept running away from home, and she kind of got sucked into the street. But she was pretty much a product of her upbringing prior to being adopted.
Right.
Yeah,
as much as I really want the best for this girl, I think she's been severely damaged. I would say there had to be a conditional release from the prison. I think she did enough time, considering. I mean, when I killed those 4 guys, I got 4 years, and that was because it was considered extremely emotional, taxing, because they killed my brother, and I was under emotional distress. I say all that to say this is that the punishment needs to fit the crime. Why would you give this girl, who was a victim of sex trafficking, abuse all her life, born into abuse in many ways, that much time? I think she's done enough time, but she needs a conditional release, extended probation with a mental health component.
Right.
She's going to have to go through mental health because, I mean, after all that she's gone through, she went in as a teenager. She's not going to be the functional adult that she needs to be out here in society with everyone else and not fall back into that same routine, because that routine was all she knew to make money. She's going to have to. Otherwise, she's not going to survive out here. They took away everything about her life by putting her in jail for that long to begin with. She's been in since 2006.
Yeah, so it's almost 12 years since she's been in prison. And then pretty much what's supposed to be like the best years of her life, you know. So it's gonna be.
And she was already at it like a 10-year-old mindset when she went in. So, like, even though she's gotten a little formal education and gotten her GED, I mean, like, what the fuck? Like, what can someone do who doesn't have any real world experience? You know?
And not only that, somebody that's been traumatized in their youth stays particularly in that particular mind state. It takes
arrested development
trauma therapy in order to resolve that.
Yeah,
exactly. And then I don't know if you guys watched How to Get Away with Murder, but there was a similar case on there like that, like a couple of weeks ago.
Oh yeah, I watched that episode. I remember that one.
Yeah, and she was pretty much done the same way. She was had been a prostitute all her life. She had been, bounced around. She had a bad upbringing, and Annalise got her off. But if you watch the more recent episodes, I think it was like a couple episodes, like 2 episodes later or 3 episodes later, she ended up dead. So she had been in and out of prison all her life and was still alive, but then she's like Annalise actually said, she said 1 or 2 things: she's going to be back in jail, she's going to be dead, and I'll be doggone if she didn't end up dead. That's what I'm thinking about this girl. Like, she's not going to be able to function out here when her normal function is, there's no structure to it. So she's not going to be able to survive out here. I honestly feel like since she's been, traumatized so much, and then most of her adulthood was taken away from her, like you said, she's going to have mental health evaluations, and she's going to have to be under someone for a while until she can pick up and fall into, something that's normal for her at least. But I say that, I use that term normal loosely because what's normal for her is not what we consider normal.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, her level of success will be gauged differently, will be measured completely differently from someone else's level of success.
I only wish that...
But I wish her that no matter what happens, I wish her success.
I only wish that this case came out while Obama was doing all those pardons, because god damn, this shit should have been pardoned.
It came up, I think, like after that. I can't remember why. Yeah. It was never readdressed, but it came up in the media, and then it resurfaced again recently, because I think, aside from the celebrities putting it out there and trying to get Kim Kardashian, and there was a documentary.
Now, it would all...
They made a documentary.
Yeah, it would all depend on one thing. Not meaning to cut you off, it just popped in my head. I don't know if she was arrested locally, then there would be nothing Obama could do, because all the people who Obama released were federal prisoners. So he can't release state prisoners. He can only commute the sentences of federal prisoners. So I don't know where she is, if she's in a local prison or a federal prison. And in a case like that, I don't know if Obama could actually. I'd have to look into that a little bit more. But that's the thing. If she was a federal prisoner, that might be a different matter. Obama probably could have done something if it was in his power to do so. So I don't know.
Indeed.
I don't know. I hope she gets released, to be honest with you, because she was, to me, in my opinion, was completely innocent. But at the same time, that none of us were really there.
But I just feel like with her story, like if you listen to her story, just by the way she talks, you can tell she had a troubled upbringing. You really can.
Yeah.
She seems like a, you know, and now that she's grown, I watched the documentary and I watched a couple videos on her the other day. I kind of still see that 14-year-old girl, 15-year-old girl, whatever, kind of, you know, hidden beneath now what's an adult body. Her mindset still, she didn't have the chance to mature because she was, you know, imprisoned so soon in her life, so early in her life.
Yeah. But
indeed. And on that note, final words. Mercedes.
Final words. I don't know. You just kind of threw me on the spot there.
That's what I do. West Coast.
I guess at this point in my life, I'm at a very good point. So, and a few years back, I wouldn't have seen myself here. So, always go for your goals, no matter how hard they may seem, because eventually, with enough hard work, you will succeed.
All right, Odie.
I hope that everybody has a stronger week than Christina Aguilera's vocal cords.
You motherfucker. I told you not to say anything about that.
Uh-oh.
You don't talk about my ex-wife like that.
I may have to Google that.
Mark, what you got?
Thanksgiving is over. The turkey's in the fridge, waiting to be leftovers, and now we're in the Christmas season. So, no matter what your interpretation of Christmas is, no matter even if you don't celebrate Christmas, you may celebrate Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or whatever other holiday that you observe during this time of the year. Just remember to always put your family and friends first and just think about them. I mean, it's not always about the gifts you buy, but about the time you spend with your family. So,
right.
Amen.
And I'll say, if you have cats, I will not eat from your house, you nasty motherfucker. All right. And on that note, that concludes this episode of 360 Degrees. Thank you for participating, Odie, Mercedes, Merc. I look forward to talking to y'all again sometime in the near future. Now listen to this hot track by one of these newest artists now.
Yeah, I walk like this cause I'm the shit. And bitch, I talk like this cause I'm the shit. And can't no other bitch shut it down like this. So let the band play while I talk my shit. Cause bitch, I'm a cocky motherfucker. Cocky motherfucker. Bitch, I'm a cocky motherfucker. Cocky motherfucker. Cocky motherfucker. Cocky motherfucker. Bitch, I'm a cocky motherfucker. You were way too concerned with your position in the city, while I was in New York taking trips, sitting pretty. Catch vouch for that top 10 DJ Envy. You say you're making moves, but ain't really fucking with me. I took some time off just to let you do your thing, and now a bitch back and ain't a damn thing changed. I see you switch your style, look, color in your hair. You're trying to find sex appeal that clearly isn't there. Me muggy looking funny when I come around, cringing at the fact Sadie Hawkins stole the crown. Bitches wanna see me fall, knock me off my grind. Now watch you spit my rhyme on the real drum line, bitch. I walk like this cause I'm the shit, and bitch I talk like this cause I'm the shit. And can't no other bitch shut it down like this. So let the band play while I talk my shit. Cause bitch I'm a cocky motherfucker. Cocky motherfucker. Bitch I'm a cocky motherfucker. Cocky motherfucker. Cocky motherfucker. Cocky motherfucker. Bitch I'm a cocky motherfucker. Cocky motherfucker. Miss Sadie Hawkins, it's time for a road change. Got these hoes standing in the line. Soul train. I don't even know these bitches. No names. Make these bitches pull their hair out. Road gang. I'm a sedity bitch. Run the whole city, bitch. I get that dirty money. Niggas thinking that I'm Diddy's bitch. I'm on my nigga shit. Swag so ignorant. All these hoes dumbfounded, dumb, belligerent. Dudes wanna wife it. Chicks wanna bite it. And I might just let them and give a fuck who don't like it. S.A.D.I. 10 like Eli. These hoes stay playing, but I'm serious. Yeah, I walk like this cause I'm the shit. And bitch, I talk like this cause I'm the shit. And can't no other bitch shut it down like this. So let the band play while I talk my shit. Cause bitch, I'm a cocky motherfucker. Cocky motherfucker. Bitch, I'm a cocky motherfucker. Cocky motherfucker. Cocky motherfucker. Cocky motherfucker. Bitch, I'm a cocky motherfucker. Cocky bitch, I'm a cocky motherfucker. Cocky motherfucker. Bitch, I'm a cocky motherfucker. Cocky motherfucker. Cocky motherfucker. Cocky motherfucker. Bitch, I'm a cocky motherfucker. Cocky motherfucker. Sit down, you know word around the city. Sadie Hawkins is the hottest, and you know the chicks are ditty. I step up on the scene feeling like $1 million. I hate to be you, yeah, I know your life sucks. I never been when I hate her, get credit to where it's due for all my cocky motherfuckers. I made this one for you. You can vouch for that, or you can vouch for this. So let the band play while I talk my shit. Yeah, I walk like this cause I'm the shit. And bitch, I talk like this cause I'm the shit. And can't no other bitch shut it down like this. So let the band play while I talk my shit. Cause bitch, I'm a cocky motherfucker. Cocky motherfucker. Bitch, I'm a cocky motherfucker. Cocky motherfucker. Cocky motherfucker. Cocky motherfucker. Bitch, I'm a cocky motherfucker. Cocky motherfucker.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, what you have witnessed? You just witnessed the motherfucking takeover. Hands in the air. Sadie Hawkins, motherfucker. And I go by the name